Go see that.
Community services, that was over here, and then everything else like
That's real CDBG. This isn't real CDBG.
this
It's our
community services.
It's our. It's not real
They
CDBG.
made it to a CDBG program.
Spreads almost all the way from trash.
But we got to be found
Build something bigger and better. Get by that. It won't sit long.
do what?
Marvin went into the road department.
So we paid it back.
Maybe transfer out the road department.
Remember that $75,000?
Oh, we're collecting it back. I got you.
I shouldn't
Okay.
say they, believe me.
Well, it is. I mean, it's
Oh, Lord.
You got your hook on the
Hey, Michelle.
CBDG.
Well, if he wants to get in the ring, tell him. How about that?
You have a bid with yours?
That's not on the agenda. That's nowhere. That's
Received 2 bids. Make certain you have anything with it. How you doing? You doing okay? Yeah, good to see you.
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna need one for the county clerk. Thank you, sir.
I've already read it.
He'll be.
I've already seen it in the Herald Leader, but I'll take this one. Yeah. The original version, the earlier version, I think. Okay.
Are you great? He didn't hear me.
He's in deep thought.
Who's trying to?
It's not bad.
Hey, how are you?
Usually it's really cold over here because we don't. Stuff on the CDBG. Hello, Lee. How are you, sir?
Hello.
Okay, looks like it's right at 6:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. We want to welcome you to the Clark County Fiscal Court meeting, and we want to say that we appreciate you taking of your time to be here tonight, and we want to welcome you. In a minute, I'm going to ask you to stand, but first I want to wish our Deputy Judge Nova a happy birthday today.
Happy birthday.
So we're she's here working on her birthday, and so she didn't have to be, but I appreciate her being here tonight. I did want to mention that. We're going to stand for our invocation, and then if you would remain standing for the pledge. Thank you. Almighty God and Heavenly Father, we're so thankful tonight to be here. We're thankful for this opportunity to conduct business of the county here in public. We thank you for the people that are here. We thank you for the members of the court. We ask that you pour out your Spirit upon all of us and bless us. Lord, we do want to lift up to you the Eastern Kentucky folk that are suffering tonight. We pray for them. We pray for their protection and safety. And Lord, we pray for their comfort. We ask all of these things in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
And now the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Okay, at this time, we'll call our meeting to order, and we'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Magistrates Graham.
Present.
Thompson.
Here.
Constantopoulos.
Present.
Blanton.
Here.
Davis.
Present.
Elkins.
Present.
Thank you. This time, we have our public comment section, and we have Deetra Newell with us. I'm sorry? Harry? Okay. Deetra yields the floor to you, Harry. We have Harry Enoch. Thank you. You have the floor.
I'm Harry Enoch at 290 Gold Wings Road. I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of those present to ask Clark County Fiscal Court to adopt a resolution on racial harmony. The resolution reads as follows. Whereas thousands of Africans and their descendants were enslaved in Winchester and Clark County from 1775 through 1865. Whereas in 1860, just prior to the Civil War, 42% of the population of Clark County was enslaved. Black people were bought and sold at the Clark County Courthouse. Whereas following emancipation, injustices against African Americans continued with outbreaks of violence, lynchings, racial segregation, and discrimination. Now therefore be it resolved by the Clark County Fiscal Court that we are committed to the principle that all people are created equal. We acknowledge the fundamental inhumanity and injustice of slavery and segregation. We regret the wrongs that were committed against African Americans in our community in the past. We recognize that much progress towards racial equality has been made in our community, and we express our continuing opposition to all forms of racial discrimination. The whereas is the first part are a very brief summary of Black history in Clark County. But these are facts, and they're facts that are not disputed. The resolves address these injustices not with extremist rhetoric, but instead with reasonable, sensible statements. These are views that our citizens need to hear. Most importantly, this resolution allows our community to take a stand opposing all forms of racism and discrimination. Judge Branham and magistrates, we respectfully request that the Clark County Fiscal Court adopt this resolution tonight. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Magistrate Constantopoulos and a second by Magistrate Blanton. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Harry.
Good evening. Once again, I'm here about the splash park. We had talked at some length of time before about it, and I have Debbie back in here for, that's with Parks and Recreation again, trying to appeal to the county magistrates and judge about money given toward that project. And the problem that I have, we've been asking for years for money for this to go into the community of the poor, black, white, and Hispanic children to have some type of social recreation. And I found it hard. I found on the website where you had the PPP loans that this committee here lent our state representative over $1 million, or gave him over $1 million for his businesses to continue to run when they were already shut down, some of them, before COVID came up. And I just don't understand how all of this money could be given to our state representatives for businesses and things that were not in operation, but you can't give any money toward the community, the Parks and Recs, for the splash park. Over $1 million was given. And I don't understand how that's justifiable and how that can be when the businesses were not open for business, but yet money was given to Ryan Dodson for his businesses. But none can come to our community where we pay taxes, and no money comes from you all to be put into our community. Does anybody have any explanation? I have it here, and the amounts right here. And I
So Deetra, I guess the purpose for you being here tonight is to request the fiscal court to consider making some type of
Yes,
contribution to the
yes,
splash park project?
Yes. If the magistrates and yourself could commit to $200,000, then we'll have $700,000. The city has gave their 250. The land and water grant is still in motion for us to have that. And I'm asking that, again, that it be considered or be accepted and approved for the Parks and Recs to have $200,000 of the money that we've gotten from COVID to be able to be put for a splash park for our children in the community as some type of social recreation.
Okay, we'll bring that forward to the fiscal court members if you have any discussion.
Have they come up with a final number yet on that? Because last I heard, I've even contacted Mitch McConnell's office to try to see what happened to the land and water conservation money, because it's still being held up in Washington,
Well,
so we really can't design it. Have they found out a final number?
We still have the $1,100,000. The land and water grant is with the federal right now, just waiting to be signed, and it won't be done till October. But it is in the process and in the makings, and there's other officials that are working on that as well.
I was looking for Jeff tonight. Jeff's not here tonight.
Debbie
is he?
is.
Okay.
And I've had extensive conversations with Jeff in regards to the splash pad. And one thing that the original bid, or the original pricing had in it, is it was going to be circulating pumps and so forth of that nature. Whereas, from what I understand, the direction of that the parks is going is where it would be a wastewater, where it would go into the stormwater, so you wouldn't have the expense of all those recirculating pumps and so forth. And they don't have a final estimate, and then there's going to be some ancillary expenses as far as fencing, maybe a pavilion, those types of things, and they don't have the exact cost on what the whole project's going to be.
Well, the project itself with the features is $1,100,000. The other phases with the fencing and the landscaping, that was a second phase. But just to get the splash park, and nobody else has all of these requirements or rejections but you all. The city, they have no more information than you, but they gave $250,000 toward this project. So I don't understand why it's so much different and it has to continue to lag on for years and years when this is the people's money. And if this man can get over $1 million for businesses that were not in functional to run and serve people, then I don't know why money can't come to our community to be able to have a project that has worked well for all of the community and not just Portersville.
I want to clarify one thing. The PPP, we had nothing to do with. That's federal government did all of that. They approved the money. The fiscal court did absolutely
But
zero
nothing
with
comes
it.
through you all
No,
for this?
none of that came through us.
And none of it came out of the budget that you?
None of
Well, you-
PPE was administered through local community banks and Small Business Administration, and it was federal money. And small businesses made applications through their bank or bank of choice, and then that was forwarded on to SBA. And my understanding is SBA dispersed that money through the bank. You got your money directly from the bank. Fiscal courts don't administer PPP. That never worked that way.
We have no decision
So-
making on
Okay.
that. That was all
So
decided by
with
federal.
that being set aside, you still have money that can be put into the general fund. And your words to me was, Daniel, that you didn't want to put it in the general fund because you didn't want people to use it for salaries. And people work hard that give their services to this community. So if they get a raise, they get a raise. But my interest is, we have the money while we have it. At Winchester, Clark County, we have the money. And while it is that we cannot get the money from you all to make this happen, I don't understand it. And all your reasonings, like I said, the city of Winchester didn't take us through that, nor did the land and water grant when it was proposed to them.
But you haven't gotten that money yet either, have you? The land and water grant.
I just gave you the information on that.
Okay.
So,
Floor is open. Any conversation?
Well, if we knew the final cost of the project, I'd have no problem making a motion to
well, if
budget
it's-
the funds, but it's not designed, so we don't even have a final project cost.
Well, the city didn't have a final cost no more than what you have either,
Well,
but they gave theirs.
But I
as
remember-
well as
I remember
when
some
we-
time back, we discussed this a year or a year and a half ago, maybe, yeah. Well, but I think you were here a year or a year and a half ago, and we talked about it, and I thought I remembered that you were going to come back with a design plan and a budget, and we would discuss funds then.
We're gonna keep the same design plan that we had before.
But we haven't seen that.
Well, you all had, I gave every one of you a brochure when I was here before. It was a booklet. Every one of you got one. When I was here before with Jeff, it was a little booklet that I gave out for each of you, and it told the different phases of what was gonna be done with the splash park.
I haven't seen a design plan or a budget, but I
Well-
certainly support a splash pad. I would
don't know.
openly say,
Well,
I
could you
support a
make
splash
motion
pad.
that you all, and then if it's
I-
more, then we have to get our
I'm
donations.
committed to the same thing I was committed to before. If we had a design plan and a budget, a final budget, then we could then discuss.
Well, I still think
Or,
that's just a
for
reason
me,
not to do it.
It's not.
Because,
It is not.
It's the same information that's been provided to the land and water grant people with the state government and federal and the city, and they gave their money, but it's always a reason when we come here for the people in this community. This is the same reason that we get every time we come. And maybe what'll help our community if we pay mostly our county taxes is our most, I paid quadruple. Maybe we need to hold our tax money to put into our community, and then that way, it may be funny, but that way, we don't have to come and beg year after year after year for something that's rightfully ours.
I'm still committed to supporting it once I see a
Well,
budget and a design.
Why can't you
plan.
make a motion for an amount?
I'll do that, Deidre. I'll make a motion that we set aside up to $100,000 of our COVID relief money to go to the splash pad.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a motion on the floor by Magistrate Blanton.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second by Magistrate Graham. Any discussion among the magistrates? Okay, seeing none? I'm
I
sorry.
mean, we can't set aside $100,000. I mean, that doesn't qualify in the ARPA funding.
Well, that's what she's asked for, so.
And you said it could be put in the general fund, and that would be a way that we could get the money. And 100,000 is a whole much of a blessing versus nothing, and year after year, we come and begging for the same thing.
Other discussion among the magistrates?
I would ask the treasurer if that's an appropriate use of ARPA funds.
If we move it,
That wasn't the question. I'm sure there are ways that we can skirt the laws and the original intent, but I'm asking, is that an appropriate use of ARPA funds?
All the other money's been appropriate, but nothing happened, but now we have this money.
Again, I don't oppose a splash pad. I'd love to
Could you
support
second
one.
the motion, please?
I'm
Could you
sorry.
second the motion?
It's
It's already been
seconded.
seconded.
It's on the floor.
Okay.
We're just having discussion, then we'll
Okay.
call for a vote.
Okay.
Up to.
Was it up to 100,000 or 100,000?
Up to 100,000.
Well, we'll take 200,000.
So just to clarify, and I may have missed this, the money that was coming from, I guess, the state or federal, this land, water money, has that been received yet, or is it still
No,
pending?
it is pending signing, and we should have that in October. This is per a lady in the state that's working with local government that has sent that on to the feds, and that's where it is. And Joellen Reed is going to be talking with them also about that, but we have already been promised that. Every paperwork, it had to be updated. The paperwork had to be updated from where it was sent in, and COVID delayed some things. So all of that information has been updated and sent in. It was sent in February. They had all of that documented today. So they have everything they need. But their session or their time to issue this money won't be again until October.
October of this year.
October this year. And that's according to the federal government.
So the 100,000 would have to be rolled into the general fund and then a line item created, and then we would still have to approve any final disbursement of that. So obviously, if we never see any final plans or a final budget or any of the money falls through on the other side.
That still would move $100,000 from the ARPA funds into the general fund, which I'm opposed to doing, but I'm not opposed to setting aside $100,000 of ARPA funds and commit not to spend that until this project gets off of its feet.
It can't get off
you
its
need.
feet if we don't have the money.
No. I would support committing to holding $100,000 of ARPA funds aside that we don't touch for any other project except for this splash pad project. Once you need it, come back to us and then we'll transfer it into the general fund and give it to you.
But it would be allocated and put
It would be
aside.
held aside so we can't spend it on anything else.
But that,
But
okay,
that,
that's fair.
I could support that.
That's fair.
I believe that's what I said, set aside.
Well, but they were, Magistrate Blanton, I know what you said, but the conversation is to move it into the general
Well,
fund.
I didn't say that. My
no,
motion was to set aside.
I want Ms. Newell to understand what we're doing with the
As
money.
long as we all understand.
That's exactly
Well,
what
that's
I'm
not the way
doing.
I took it. I
I'm
took it
making
as-
sure we all
Okay,
understand.
let me restate the motion as we have it written. The motion is to set aside up to $100,000 of ARPA funds for the splash park.
That's what I said.
You set aside is a very generic term. Exactly what do you mean by that?
Like, just, I think you and I agree on what I said.
I think we do too, but I want to
I
make
think
sure
that
that
I
the
agree.
audience does as well.
We're not gonna spend it till we get some more information, but that money is allocated, just
But
like a budget,
But it doesn't go into the,
like a
it doesn't go
budget.
into the general
just
fund.
like a budget.
That's,
There's only, to my understanding, and Alicia, there's only one way to get money out of the ARPA fund into the general fund. You have to do it by resolution.
correct.
That's my understanding.
And I want to make sure that this resolution or order, is this going to be a resolution, an order,
No,
or?
it's just a motion and it's an action of the court.
So
To
when do
reserve
we
it
do the resolution?
pending
That's all I,
the
that's all I
receipt
said.
of the
Didn't
documentation.
say nothing else, didn't say nothing more. I thought I was pretty clear.
Okay.
Well, I'm
Let's-
asking for clarity so I can vote on it, Robert.
Greg and I pretty much agree on what set aside is. We're not
Well,
gonna spend the money.
I've got a vote, and I'm asking you to clarify it.
We're just gonna.
That's all I'm doing.
Gonna earmark $100,000. We're not gonna spend until we get more information. She can come back and when she gets ready for it.
And then
Would you,
when we
would
get
you,
the
would you,
information,
would
we
you
will
amend your
come back.
motion to make that a resolution that we could vote on next meeting?
If that's what the court wants.
I'd like it, it's $100,000, so I'd like it to be very well documented what we're doing with it. $100,000 is a lot of money. It is to me, and and I know it is to this project. So I want to make sure that it's held aside for this project. Nothing more. We can't spend it on anything else.
So when do we do the resolution to come back?
I would ask Magistrate Blanton, who made the motion, if he would amend it to do a resolution to come back next meeting and let's vote it up or down.
Sure, that's fine with me, but we didn't do a resolution when we spent $3 million. I
I think we did do an order, didn't we?
don't think we did a resolution.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I think,
But yeah, I will amend that motion. I'll be agreeable to that.
Okay.
and what will the motion say now?
That we bring back a resolution at the next meeting to set aside up to $100,000 of ARPA funds for the splash pad.
Okay. The motion is to bring a resolution to the next fiscal court meeting. This will
And
be
that's
August
when?
10th.
August 10th.
Okay, Joe, will you second that? Will you change your second? Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Deidre. Next, we have Sam Williams. I was looking for you, Sam. You have the floor.
Front row. Sam Williams. One quick question. How much is the training incentive for a day? We're talking about money here, and I'd like to put dollars on it.
It depends on the hours you take and the number of years you've taken the hours.
Your years,
500,000, or is it somewhere being?
It can be from what?
wait just a minute and let me,
She'll have it.
you know what a unit is?
It's like
I'm gonna have to look at the letter.
$1,000.
It's like $1,200 a unit.
Here, let me get Leisha to answer it for us, and that way we'll have it.
It'll make it easier if you put that number on.
Mr. Williams, it is statute. You can find that in statute.
I looked at the statutes today, I did not find a dollar.
It is in there, I'm sure we could,
Very complicated.
it is not, it can.
So, okay, here we go. Got you right here. Okay, hold it, got you right here. It's $1,169.77 per unit. Now, if you're a magistrate for 1 year, you get 1 unit. If you're a magistrate for 2 years, you get 2 units, 3 units, and 4 units. When you reach 4, that's your maximum, and you stay at 4 from now on.
So
If we've got a magistrate that's 4 years in their job, they can receive 4 units of training.
this is roughly, what is that, over $5,000?
$4,679.08 for 4 units.
Well, anyway, I just, I saw that, and I want to get educated, and I saw one of the magistrates is a lame duck magistrate, you're gonna give him almost $5,000, and he's not gonna be with us after the first of the year. I think y'all need to consider that when you approve this today.
Okay. Thank you, Sam. Joe Barnes, there he is, way back in the back.
Yes, thank you. My name's Joe Barnes, 895 Sidwell Lane, out in the county. I would like to address the court about what we as county residents can do with our garbage. Since Rumpke took over our pickup, in the county, we don't have any place that we can dispose of, like couches, or chairs, or old commodes, or plastic pipe, or other farm. My understanding is WMU is either out of business, or you have to live in the city to be able to take stuff in there to get rid of it. When S&G was in business, they had dumpsters at their place of business that the county, we as customers could take our garbage in there and they would dispose of it for us. But as of now, I don't know, there's no place in the county that I can find that we can get rid of this stuff unless we have to pack it up on our own. And I don't know, can we take it to the Haley Pike or whatever the dump is out there, or?
It's a good question. I'm not sure about that.
Didn't a business take over the didn't a new sanitation take over the old S&G property?
There is another garbage company there now, but I've driven by there and I don't see any dumpsters or anything in it,
Where's that?
where the old S&G was. And if we're not a customer of that, I forget what the name of the new garbage.
AME.
Okay, if we're not a customer of them, I doubt whether they would take it.
I could be of some help, Judge.
Oh, okay. Go right ahead.
You can take some of those items to Haley Pike and dispose of them there. Not everything, but if it's a construction or a demolition material, you can take their brick, block, wood, sheetrock, those kind of things. Pretty much if you'd tear it out of your house when you tore your house down, you can take there. Other things like couches, chairs, refrigerators, washers, dryers, you should be able to contact Rumpke if that's who your service provider is and get a bulk item pickup. If you can't get that, or if they don't offer that, I would suggest you contact the solid waste coordinator and see if he can negotiate such a rate for county residents as that. Or the judge could contact the solid waste coordinator and have him to negotiate that. Or customers in the county can solicit or ask for, request a bulk item pickup, they call it. You can also, there's a transfer station on Old Frankfort Pike. I know that's a bit of a drive, but you can take it there. It's pretty expensive. And there is a landfill on the Triport Road, I think, in Montgomery County, that you can take it there as well.
There's your couple of solutions, and I was going to say, if you want to call our office tomorrow, Joe, I'll try to get you numbers for these.
I was just concerned, looked to me like that the county could work, if they could work with Rumpke and get a collection place, that where they could put the dumpsters, and that would be a big help to the county citizens.
One final thought. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I am on the solid waste committee, and we are updating the 5-year solid waste management plan, and that will be a part of our discussion. So, and that's due to be submitted to the cabinet, Division of Waste Management by October, I think. So you'll see some progress pretty quick, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, Joe. I just had it on my mind.
What worries me is I'm afraid we're going to start seeing more and more of this stuff on our county roads. on the back roads. If you get out and drive the back roads, you already see enough of it to make your eyes hurt. But, you know, if we had a collection place local within the county, you know, that we could take this stuff, you know, even if we do have to pay a fee, you know, that would still be cheaper than with gasoline $5 a gallon, us having $4 or $5 a gallon, having to drive to another county or someplace, you know, to get rid of it.
Okay.
But, that's,
Joe, to add to Magistrate Elkins is what he said there, two things. It's been a minute since I've been to WMU, but there are quite a few items that they will take, but they charge you if you're not a WMU customer. You go in the backside down there, and I've taken quite a bit of stuff down there. And the landfill that he mentioned in Montgomery County is Rumpke, and they'll take anything. And,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not silly expensive. It's more expensive than it's less expensive than WMU. But it's not that far out of Kidville. It's on, what is that, 11,
Yeah,
between
yeah.
Mount Sterling and,
Yeah, I know.
and Clay City.
Yeah, I know
So
where
it's easy to get in and out of, and it's not that far away.
Levy Road, that's the name of the
That's
road.
it.
It's on
Thank you.
Levy Road.
Yeah. But that's just a thought that I
Okay.
thought
that the court may take into consideration trying to.
Well, maybe that's something the Solid Waste Committee will bring up and have a conversation about.
We certainly will, and it's a legitimate concern,
Okay.
especially the county roads becoming dumping grounds again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay. Let's see, we're down to our minutes, and I forgot to list our June 21 minutes, and we forgot to get them approved at the last court meeting. So if you all don't mind, I'm going to say 4A will be our June 21 minutes, and then 4B will be our July 13 minutes. Is that okay?
Motion to approve 4A.
Okay, motion by Magistrate Elkins,
Second.
second by Magistrate Constantopoulos. Any discussion?
Now, which one are you doing?
June
4A.
21.
Okay. I thought maybe July 13th would have been first since it was
Well,
on the list, but that's
I
fine.
thought I'd go in chronological
Okay,
order.
okay, that's fine.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we have our July 13 minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Magistrate Elkins.
4B.
I'll second it. I have one.
Okay, second by Magistrate Davis. Discussion.
At
Yes,
the
sir.
bottom of the first page, here it looks like on the motion that I made on the ARPA funds, and it says, and to create a sanitation checking account. I don't think the motion included any.
Magistrate Elkins to request or to transfer?
It should be transfer. Good call.
Because we're not requesting it, we already actually made the.
Okay, so we're going to strike request and put transfer in. Okay.
And Exhibit A isn't attached.
Exhibit A, where was that, Robert?
Two-thirds down the front page, the second note in the minutes, annual pay increases. Exhibit A, it's not attached.
We give them to you at the last meeting, and we didn't know if you wanted, Michelle will attach it to her minutes, right, in the courtroom? But we did not give them to you all.
I have them all here.
Okay.
So we look at them at the last meeting.
Yeah, I know we
can-
did, yeah.
They
We
were in
can-
our packet, right?
Okay.
So that's okay then?
Just like
Well,
this
if they're all
meeting
right.
is in our packet for this.
So long as it gets attached, I'm not
It
concerned.
becomes part of the minutes. Okay, any other discussion? We've got those corrections. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, you have a transfer order. We'll entertain a motion or questions on the transfer order.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Magistrate Elkins,
Second.
second by Magistrate Constantopoulos. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You have a bills list, and we provided you an amended bills list yesterday afternoon. Try to entertain any questions.
approve.
Motion to approve by Magistrate Constantopoulos,
Second.
and a second by Magistrate Blanton. Any discussion?
What was the amendment from the bills list before that we had? I didn't get time to compare.
Okay.
It's usually highlighted,
You know
but
what
I
those
didn't see
were?
a highlight.
Okay, Eric can tell us, I think.
Plus was added for the domain hosting. There's a bill that was part of it that needed to be paid for their copier lease. 2 rents were added for our child support office and our coroner's office. And
A reimbursement for the county clerk for
yes,
the
a reimbursement for the county clerk for central imaging
printing of
printing.
their election items.
The election cards.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Got those, Greg?
I don't, but I'll go back and find it.
Okay.
It sounded like a reasonable explanation.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a note in the minutes, the fiscal year 2022 treasurer's settlement. Okay. And then we have a note in the minutes, report of the auditor for the Clark County Clerk. Agreed upon procedures. Any questions? Nope. Okay.
Don't we have a question about the audit, but can I interject a question just for the clerk in general?
In general?
Where did we leave our last discussion with election polling places?
You all didn't.
I mean, we need to, if we're gonna do that,
Daniel said he was for, but he didn't know where the money would come from. And then-
But we didn't have any numbers on what was gonna be that you were gonna bring.
well, if
to
we,
us.
because if we're
But
gonna,
it's a remainder of the
'Cause there was-
voting machines.
there was a lot of people complaining about they only had 4 places and there was some
Yes, there was.
confusion. So if we're gonna correct that, we need to move forward and try to correct it some way or the other. So can we do that at the next meeting under some auspices or some sort of?
$320,000, you know, that was the first bid for the machines for the whole county. And then so you all opted to.
Can you two put something together and put it on the next agenda so we can move forward or move backwards
I
or
don't know, this not.
go
too
in
late.
circles or something?
Not too late now to get them in for the election. I mean, I have no idea.
Well, that's what, if you can, if you and the judge can do that,
Put you something together for the agenda? Okay, we
I
can do
mean,
that.
because I'd like to be able to provide answers to those that had all the issues at the primary election, and if we can correct those issues, I'd like to try to correct those issues if at all possible.
It may not be the right time to ask, but since we're on the subject, do we have to have new machines if we,
The old machines are gone.
where did they go?
Hard destroyed them. Per that bid, that was in your all's bid. Remember, they destroyed them. You couldn't get
When we got
parts.
our new machines.
Right, when we got
Couldn't
the
get
new
parts,
machines. You
so.
can't use new machines at one location and old machines at another.
You cannot use new
No.
ones?
Well, if you'll put something together
So
for the next
they were
meeting.
all destroyed, so there is no other machines.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
But yes, I would definitely do that.
I've got a note on that as well, Michelle. Okay, our next item would be noted in the minutes, employee pay increases for August. And this is one of those that we give you a list this time. And Michelle will put it with our minutes of this meeting. But we probably, unless you all want it, we won't provide this again. So, at next meeting.
I'd like to just see them, if you want to just attach them to the minutes. I think I saw that one.
Oh, you saw that one?
I think I did.
All right. We'll move right along to item 10, consider training incentive for Magistrate Robert Blanton.
So moved.
Motion by Magistrate Davis, second by Magistrate Constantopoulos. Any discussion?
I'll recuse myself.
Robert recuses. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have consider training incentive for Magistrate Joe Graham.
So moved.
Motion by Magistrate Elkins, second by Magistrate Constantopoulos. Any discussion?
Just one,
I'll
I
recuse myself.
Make a note there.
just wanted to make, in response to a comment that was made earlier tonight, just so, you correct me if I'm wrong, Henry, because you've had more experience with these incentive pays than I have, but you know, my understanding is when any member of the court or an elected official completes his 40 hours for that year in which he's serving, he's entitled under the statute, under DLG rules, to be paid. They issue the letter to the judge's office and the treasurer. And the treasurer, essentially certifying that that elected official has finished his or her
Right.
training and the payment is to be issued.
That's what we get, yes.
And obviously, we vote on that disbursement as we would any disbursement, but I don't think we have really any real choice. I mean, that elected official is entitled to that payment. I don't know, I suppose you
Did
could
you have
vote
a
no,
comment,
but.
Alicia?
The second sentence,
Wait-
second sentence
wait-
of
The
the,
letter-
Wait just a minute, Greg.
It says that it is pursuant to KRS that you are required to be paid.
that's what I was gonna say. The second sentence of the letter says pursuant to KRS 64 dot, Sam, if you wanna write it down, 64.5275, paragraph 6, you are required to be paid the annual incentive for the calendar year 2022.
White would be reasonable.
Well, I mean,
Not to submit the deal since it wasn't elected.
even, not to pick on anybody, but even Magistrate Blanton, who has an election in November, we don't know if he'll win or lose that, but we can't hold his incentive paid till then.
It's a significant amount of money.
It is, but
That's the point I want to make.
well, sure, it is. I don't
It's
disagree.
significant.
Yeah.
When you're talking about a splash park, 100,000, that's 1/20th of a splash park.
Okay.
And the state sets that amount, so.
Okay, let's
They set
bring,
that amount.
let's bring it back in here for discussion. I think Magistrate Blanton has comment.
If some of the court members may remember that up till about 3 or 4 years ago, because it says required, we didn't even have to vote on it or put it in the minutes. It was just done because KRS 64.5275 says you are required, and we didn't even have to vote on it or put it in the minutes, and we did. So we really don't have a choice, and I'm still not sure why DLG changed their mind and said we had to vote on it, but because we really don't have a choice because it clearly states required. So, but we don't have a choice.
Okay, any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have consider training incentive for Jailer Frank Doyle.
Motion approved.
Motion by Magistrate
Second.
Constable, second by Magistrate Blanton. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Alan had asked me to put the bid for the road salt auction on the agenda, but I did not get papers, and I don't see him here tonight. Those on the road committee, do y'all know what that was, or
I'm not on the road committee.
who's on the road?
I don't know.
Joe? Okay.
Magistrate-
I'm wondering if we ought to put this off. I didn't have anything to provide you all.
Is it time sensitive?
I don't know.
I don't either.
See, that's,
Seems like it is, but I don't know that we're up
yeah, I
against that
remember he
wall, but-
mentioned an amount. It was $100 and some a ton, and I thought there was gonna be, but we never got anything, did we? No. So whatever you all wanna do, if you wanna go ahead and approve it.
Well, it was a reverse auction, so it's the lowest possible price.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've got no problem with it since it was I mean, if we had just done another method of getting the bids, but I mean, the numbers
it
just
was-
keep going down, so it's the lowest possible price.
It was the Keiko reverse
Yeah.
auction was the lowest possible price, and I can provide that to you all by email.
Yeah, let's
as
go,
soon as
I'll
I
go
can.
ahead and make a motion if you'll provide us with that after the fact.
Okay. We have a motion by Magistrate Blanton.
So the motion is to approve 13 on the agenda, but get the numbers after. I second that.
Okay. And a second by Magistrate Elkins, and we're open for discussion. I'm gonna text Alan real quick. Okay, discussion, any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All righty. Think I've got an answer coming.
Get the little dot.
$134 per ton.
$134.
Technology. Okay, so Robert, would you amend your
That's fine.
motion? $134 per ton, and
I'll
who
make that
seconded
amendment.
it?
I'll amend the second.
Greg, okay. Okay. All righty. The contract for the medical provider, William, did they provide that to you or from the jail? Ernie, or? The contract for the medical provider, we were gonna, Okay, he did not get a copy. I didn't either. And, okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and go
Let's
on
just
our
skip
agenda.
Motion to table that to the next meeting?
Well, let's just skip it for the time being and see what
Oh,
we've
does it have
got.
to be done
Then we can come back
tonight?
to
Starts
table.
August 1st.
Pass it for now.
Let's just,
Let's do it at the end of the meeting.
What's important is that we've submitted a 30-day letter to the previous, so they're done July 31st. So I need to get a hold of them right now. So-
Okay, okay. We'll go on with item 15 if you're all right. And this begins some items for our CDBG grant for the community services. And the first one would be an anti-displacement resolution.
motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Magistrate Blanton.
I know we've got several things related to
Okay.
the housing issue. Which one is that one?
This one will be, give me just a second.
The anti-displacement.
Okay, it says guide form residential anti-displacement and relocation. It was one of the documents that was on your desk tonight.
I'll add to that question, Judge. Is there a difference between what was in our packet and what's on the desk?
Yes.
Okay.
There is a change, and I'm trying to remember what. Is that one had a change?
No, that was in our, that wasn't new. That
This
was-
one, okay.
This was the same. That was not a new one.
I think this one, on the original one, it had Madison County Fiscal Court Clerk.
No, this one has Clark. This original one has Clark.
That's not the one?
No, this
Okay.
is a stack of new ones.
This is the same one then. I'm sorry, Travis, I was wrong.
I didn't see a difference, but that didn't.
I
mean
did
didn't
see
miss
the
it.
one you're talking about, though, Henry.
Okay.
I did catch it.
Okay, we've got a motion by Magistrate Blanton.
So, I assume this is,
Okay, we have a second
I'm
by
sorry, I
Magistrate
thought it didn't say
Constantopoulos.
that.
Now we have discussion.
Go ahead.
Chris, go ahead.
Oh, well, the question is, and this, I had this question posed to me prior, and I didn't know the answer to it, and then I saw your letter here regarding the CDBG grants. Are we limited?
Now, my letter is not with regard to this CDBG. This CDBG was a side block of money that came out of ARPA funding to the state. The regular CDBG funds, which I will ask you all to address at the end, in the normal course of CDBG business, you can only have one open at a time.
Okay, I just want to make sure we weren't going to interfere with.
No,
because I saw the letter there.
this one's different.
Gotcha.
Any other questions?
and I'd asked Henry that earlier
Yeah.
too, about, it sounds like it's two definitely segregated
Two
pots.
right.
Yeah, two different pots of money.
Yeah.
Any discussion, other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we have the procurement code resolution. And
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Magistrate Constantopoulos, second by Magistrate Blanton. Any questions on that one?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Then we have a cost overruns resolution. And that should be the next one in queue.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Magistrate Blanton.
I'll second it for discussion and
Okay,
just. and
second by
clarification.
Magistrate Davis.
I just wanted to clarify the, and I highlighted the language about the county being, or fiscal court, I should say, being responsible to bear any cost overruns on the project, be borne by the Clark County Fiscal Court. What's the transactional relationship there, if there is a true overrun? I mean, obviously, we're adopting this resolution, says the court's on the hook for the
Since this,
overrun.
and I'm going by my history with CDBGs, and I will certainly defer to the county attorney, but if there is a nonprofit entity involved in the CDBG, which there is, and we're acting as the financial agent, the nonprofit entity in the agreement that we will have with them will bear any cost overruns. Because this is 100% CDBG, which you usually don't get those. They're usually 80%. Do you agree to that?
Yeah, I think that's an accurate description, so then the block grant's not distributable to the charitable organization directly. We act as the financial agent, employ an administrator, and then we contract with the charitable organization to essentially assure us that they will be primarily liable to us for any cost overruns in the project that they are constructing, so.
He said that so much better than I
Well,
did.
I don't know that I did, but
Yeah.
all the state has is the county's word that it's good for the money, and all the county has is the charitable organization's
That's right.
word that it won't overrun costs, it will then be responsible for.
So in a worst case, not to get in the weeds too much, but I will for a moment, assuming hypothetically a nonprofit received these funds for whatever reason, became insolvent, bankrupted, which happens sometimes. Businesses go out of business, nonprofits go out of business. If in that scenario they bankrupt, or maybe just are dissolved and there's not enough assets to pay the liabilities, then in that scenario, the county would be on the hook for it, right?
Well, I mean, if there had been, a cost overrun,
An overrun,
Yeah.
on the hook for overruns.
right, there already has to be a cost overrun, correct.
Is that pretty satisfactory?
And so this is for, from what I gather from the material, this is for the renovation of the building there on Taylor Avenue.
Mostly the
Blacktop,
outs-
or blacktop.
the
Blacktop.
parking lot
A
and
parking
the
lot.
parking access and they're gonna make quite a few changes around there. Oh, look at here. Hi, Debbie. Do you want to come forward and tell us about the project? I'm sorry, Debbie, I just looked right over top of it.
You thought she was here for Parks and Recreation, didn't you?
That's exactly what I thought.
A couple of things. First, Clark County Community Service was established in 1975. We're not going anywhere. We're not going bankrupt.
And I wasn't suggesting.
I know, but
I'm
it's
just-
important because that was said, and I don't want anybody to think that there's anything happening at community services in terms of finances.
Just trying to understand the
Yeah.
process.
Our finances are excellent. We're doing extremely well because we're in a community that is so giving to us and people who shop our store. It's just, we are financially stable. This is to help us with our parking lot. We purchased, pre-COVID, the property next door to us. In the middle of COVID, I tore that building down. It's now gravelled. We want to open it up around the back. If you visit community services at the corner of Taylor and Broadway, specifically on Senior Commodity Day, when I am serving 400 seniors their senior food boxes, it's dangerous. I am pulling them as close as I can to me at the curb to keep them from being hit by cars that take that corner outside wide and then inside tight. They do the opposite of what they're supposed to do. I want to get them off that road and onto my parking lot, drive them around the back of the building, and then bring them back out. Because again, I'm talking about elderly folks. And then if you come to my property any Tuesday, you're going to see what it's like in that parking lot. It is, we have a sign that's now saying overrun parking in the gravel lot, and my staff double park. It's just going to help all of that. I operate a forklift that's electric. It's not gas, so you can't hear it. You can ask anybody who's been on my property when I'm operating that horn is going non-stop the entire time I'm driving it because they can't hear it. I want to stay out of the parking lot where my customers are. I want to go on the other side of the parking lot. And I have to go through that parking lot to unload semis that come to bring us food. So it's and one of the things that Grayson had asked was, well, we need to make sure you're serving a certain, what percentage did I have to serve that was below poverty? 51%. And I said, okay, well, that's not going to be a problem. We gave him over 400 applications and we were at 100%. So I am serving the people in our community that are at greatest risk and greatest need.
Thank you, Debbie.
Any other
Thank you
questions?
for being here and
Yeah.
and
Any other?
explaining.
Yeah, and I'll put my Parks and Rec hat. Thanks for the 100,000. Okay, now that's back off. I'm back to community services. Any other questions about what's happening over there? If you've never been in my building, please come and I'll give you a tour.
I have been. You all do move a lot of stuff through
Yes,
there.
we do. We do.
Clothes and everything else.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Judge, if I might address the court, if there's any questions, CDBG at all, more than happy to field.
Okay. Appreciate you being here, Grayson. I just kind of was looking out into the space there. We have Trish. Okay. We got the whole crowd here tonight. Okay. All right, back to this resolution. Are we ready for the question?
Yep. it's ready to
All
go.
those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the legally binding agreement.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Magistrate Blanton, second by Magistrate Constantopoulos. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. On our contract professional services, if you'll look under the Part 2 Terms and Conditions, 4C, the county attorney caught this one and brought it to my attention. In number C, it says city, and that should say county, and we're going to strike that and put county, and then I'll initial it.
Four C, yep.
Okay. So with that, I'll ask for a motion on that one.
Motion approved.
Motion by Magistrate Constantopoulos, second by Magistrate Blanton. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
See, I had that marked down.
All right, next we have a surplus order for, body armor at the sheriff's office.
You got fair housing. Did you,
Oh, we didn't do that? Okay, I'm
got
sorry.
to do fair housing, Henry.
We didn't do fair house, okay. I'm sorry,
And
got
the
ahead of
Title
myself.
VI resolution, did we skip that one?
Did we do?
We got two more to do before we,
Fair house?
19 and 20.
No, that was the, Okay, so next one would be the fair housing resolution.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Magistrate Blanton,
Second.
second by Magistrate Constantopoulos. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the Title VI resolution.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Magistrate Elkins, second by Magistrate Blanton. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next one is the contract for
There you go.
professional
There
services.
you go. Motion to approve.
Motion by Magistrate Blanton,
Second.
second by Magistrate Davis. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we have the surplus order for the body armor at the jail and the sheriff's office.
So moved.
Motion, second.
Motion by Magistrate Elkins, second by Magistrate Thompson. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Couple items I'd like to ask you all to attend to is, we'll go back to, Ernie, are you ready for us yet?
Probably not, but let me.
Okay.
Try it anyway, huh?
I've been on the phone with Frank from Jailer Doyle, and we've contacted Tammy, and she's going to send us the most updated contract, William. I have a contract that I've sent to Henry. Henry, if you could forward that to him.
Okay.
To review. But using my notepad here, the contract itself is $255,000 annual just for health care, nursing care. That comes down to $21,250 monthly. We added the mental health portion of that, and that's $485 a month, bringing the total annual cost to $260,920, and the monthly cost would be $21,735, which is still $1,300, I think, cheaper than we're paying now. This doesn't solve William's problem of needing to review that contract. I don't know, whenever I have Robert's Rules of Orders questions, I usually lean towards Greg and say, what do we do here? I don't know procedurally what we can do. Even if she gets me that contract before this meeting ends, as good as William is, I don't think he'll have a chance to review it in the 2
Well,
minutes.
can we approve it subject to his approval?
Well, I think you can.
Yeah, I'd make that motion.
Would that be possible?
We'll go ahead and approve it subject to the county attorney's review and approval.
And so we're clear, that's the 200, with the mental health care, that's
Yeah,
260.
the numbers are fine. It's cheaper than we're paying now and getting better service.
Well, hopefully responsive.
With the mental health component.
Yeah.
I second that motion.
Thank
Okay,
you.
we have a motion by Magistrate Blanton and a second by Magistrate Elkins on item 14. Any board discussion?
Ernie, how much less did that end up being?
About 1,300
A month?
A month, yeah.
A month.
Anytime an accountant says about, you get nervous.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ernie. Yes, Joe?
Can I ask one question?
Uh-huh, you can ask.
On this surplus property, that body armor, that won't be made surplus for the public to buy with it.
I'm not sure how they're going to dispose of it yet. They'll be probably making a
The
determination
answer
on
to your
that.
question, Joe, is no, because the vests are expired, so,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they will be destroyed?
yeah, they'll be destroyed.
That's what I would
Hold on.
think that body armor would be good to be
What?
let out of the public.
Okay, wait just a second. Yes,
The hope, the proposal is to get them in appropriate hands and have them shipped to Ukraine, or for soldiers in Ukraine to have something that's better than nothing.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that. I wasn't aware of that.
As long as it don't get on their streets.
Yeah. No, that won't happen. Okay, back to the letter, and this is with regard to our CDBG, regular line CDBG. The fiscal court at some time last year had applied for a CDBG with regard to a fire department. I was contacted by Department for Local Government, and there's some items in that CDBG that are not attended to. And so what they would like to do, we're approaching putting in a CDBG for the sewer project on Rockwell Road. So they'd like permission from the fiscal court to move the fire station out and move the sewer project into queue. That would be our next project on the list.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Magistrate Davis,
Second.
second by Magistrate Constantopoulos. And what you'll be approving is me sending this letter to DLG stating that fact. Discussion.
That's the building that was in, I guess, in conjunction with the road department, wasn't the road department
Yes,
doing?
and I spoke with Chief Asbury and I spoke with Allen when I got the information from DLG, and they understood. They weren't necessarily happy about it, but they understood that we still have a little more work to do on that project.
Doesn't create any real issues with either of those departments then? Okay.
They've had that for quite a while, and that, did they specify what the issues were?
Well, one of the main issues is there's $475,000 worth of rural development funding for that project that has to be applied for and committed, and it hasn't been.
Hasn't been.
Oh, we have not applied for the rule.
They have not applied for
Can we
it.
still apply for that rural development money?
Yes, and we'll apply for the CDBG in the next cycle.
Okay.
What is that next cycle? Is it
Next year.
I wanted to be calendar year, yeah. Okay, thank you.
And actually, the fire plan said we needed a fire station on the southeast as opposed to Trap, so maybe another thought as well.
This was like a shared, this was not a fire station, it was.
It was a shared building.
Garage / salt.
Salt bin.
Salt bin.
You need a motion to submit?
No, we've got a motion in a
Okay.
second. I'm looking, any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, I placed on your desk an email from Jeff Lewis at Parks and Rec. And the Parks Department had began a paving project last year sometime, and it was delayed. Now it's run into more expensive, and I guess it's about $85,000 more expensive than it was. The city and the county had participated in the first part of that project, and they'd like to finish it up. And they're asking the county to participate with another $40,000. And the city would participate with another $40,000.
Debbie, you got any comments for us?
Was that the tennis courts?
No, this is for the parking lot.
This
like
is
the
the main
park.
parking, yeah.
So it wasn't last year, that bid came in, the original bid I
before COVID, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's been, we've had that bid for a while, and, the new bids just came in through the roof. But it's something that needs to be done. If you've been out to Lycans to look at that parking lot.
We've talked about it for 10 years,
It
probably.
needs to be done.
What were the bids?
It's on the back. 85,000 was the bid. 85,795 was the final, was the lowest of the bid.
Thank you, Robert. I didn't think about flipping the page over.
I'm always glad to help, Magistrate. Let me just make a comment here. Parks Department asked us for about $400,000 in their budget, and I think we allocated $250 maybe. So, if you'd like to pick and choose to make up the difference, this would be a good project to do, and I think, does this qualify for ARPA money? Maintenance?
Not the way that, it wouldn't be.
Because I know somebody's going to ask that question.
Right, it is not in the rules. It's not in the rules.
Okay.
It would kind of be like, the 100,000.
I got you. I got you.
got
I just thought I'd ask.
That was not the question earlier, so.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we get the $40,000 from the community fund.
Okay. We have a motion by Magistrate Constantopoulos,
I'll second that.
second by Magistrate Davis. Discussion?
That's not the right place for it. It needs to come from the general fund. And if when I vote no, Debbie, it won't be because you don't need the money, but it's because from the wrong place. Because that's eating into the nonprofits and the charities that depend on some of that grant money when the fiscal court needs to be physically responsible and pay for their bills. And if it's part of it, it's part of it. And that's not the right place, Daniel, and you know that.
Okay, other discussion?
Debbie, the Parks Department's a nonprofit, correct?
No.
No.
They have not, you all formed a nonprofit though, correct?
We did, Friends of the
Okay.
Park.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
We have a 6-1, motion carries.
And again, it's because it's not the right funding.
Okay. That's all I've got. We have no closed session, so we'll go to magistrate comments. Greg, you want to kick us off? Or you just want to kick us?
Yeah, I think I'd emailed you, Judge, and about where we stand on any enforcement with stuff's recycling, and I only ask because I've had a constituent or two that has asked about it. So.
And I did get a phone call, which I converted to an email, simply because I was not up to speed on what was going on.
That's the reason for the heads up. I wanted to make sure we didn't surprise you. I honestly didn't hear what he asked you.
He was asking for an update on the stuff's recycling situation, and that's with regard to Board of Adjustments.
Correct, yeah, Board of Adjustment, at least any kind, I think there's been a civil action and a criminal case, and I think the civil action may be settled, and there's some room for fines and penalties, and the specific question was, I think, what are we doing about that? I don't know if there's anything this court can do, but
Yeah, I think the only answer that you can get to that would be through, the Board of Adjustments enforcement procedures. Once the Court of Appeals ruled in their favor, they could continue on just as if it was January the 4th, 2019. So that just restored them to a position of enforcement once the Court of Appeals ruled back in April that Stuff's positions were untenable. So Rob Jeffries and I have talked about that a little bit, maybe emailed about that some. And I think it's important to, to draw a very bright line distinction between what the Board of Adjustments might do, even through the Administrative Hearing Board, as opposed to what's been done, on the criminal side. So, on the criminal side, Stuff's pled guilty at a couple of offenses, and they, we imposed $10,000 fines, suspended those based, for lack of a better word, good behavior, legal compliance to try to stretch out the watchdog effect of the plea for a period of 2 years. I have not had Detective Bradley look into it, but I suspect that if we're approaching a deadline and we've not crossed it at this point in time, that they probably have not fully complied with their agreement. That's something that we'll look at in the near future. So, just to be clear about that, I'm sure that it'll be heard and maybe even repeated, what was said in this public record. If I approach the Stuff's defendant with a violation of the terms of their plea on day one, they might offer some just cause and avoid, a justice response. If we come to them day 30, they're getting in deeper water all along. So, if there is some failure to comply out there, my hope is that before, and we're not avoiding it, but before we have the actual opportunity to review that with them, that they'll correct any shortfalls.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
The only other thing, Judge, and I don't know, maybe I misunderstood. I thought we would have a order or something for Dr. Stack this meeting to look at or approve. Where does that stand, I guess?
We approved it in the minutes, and what I was going to do was notify that office when the court ratified those minutes, which you did tonight.
Gotcha. Okay.
Then that's basically an approval of the fiscal court. Now it gives me the, I guess, the administrative authority to notify that office of the actions of the court.
Okay. Thank you. I have nothing further, Judge.
Chris.
Thank you, Henry. Recently, I met with our deputy coroner, Neil Oliver, who's with us tonight, and of course, he had a couple things he wanted to discuss, wanted to bring to my attention, I think also to the court's attention. I know one of those was he recently had one of the cots, one of the mobile cots that the coroner's office uses became malfunctioned and I think is broken irreparably. And but you're still going to be needing another one.
Yeah, I'm right now trying to research some other avenues to maybe borrow one or do something to get us through until we can find a path to maybe get a new one.
Well, if you'll keep us up on that, and if we need to take some action, it's a pretty essential item.
And that would probably be something that we would have to transfer into the coroner's budget.
Okay, so if it happens. The other thing I want to bring in a little bit longer term, and I went throughout that office with Neil, and he brought to my attention, of course, obviously that facility's rented. There's quite a bit of water damage in one of the back office that the deputies use, and maybe some mold. I don't want to talk out of school. Definite water damage, possible mold. I don't think it was addressed with the landlord as promptly as it should have been. I think that's one thing Neil's got on his to-do list. And we talked about that, but I think a little bit longer range, what I talked about with Neil was a possibility of eventually getting moved out of that rented property and into a county-owned facility. And I know he had discussed with me at some point the possibility of getting that office moved into the CSET building. I know that's a federal program, but I wondered, is there any kind of dispensation that we could be granted to get permission to get him moved into that office, maybe by sometime next year?
Dispensation granted by CSAP?
Well, right, to use some of that space to get him moved into that building. I
Okay.
think there's.
Perry, is that a question that we have someone we can send that upstream to? Okay, is that what you're asking to?
Yes, that's
send
right.
it up and say?
I'd like to know an answer to that.
This is what we propose and what.
Right, I mean,
Okay.
it may be a hard no, you never can tell until you ask, but I'd like to get that process started. I mean, if we've got some space for he and the other deputies, and obviously there'd have to be some room made maybe outside of the building for a separate detached building for the cooler, and a garage bay for the vehicles at some point. But I thought, in looking forward, into next year, and obviously Neil's going to be our coroner. He's the only one on the ballot this November, so he's going to be, having to take these things into consideration. And I thought maybe something we could start investigating now and see if we can get moving on that.
We'll, Perry, if you would pose that question, copy me, and then we'll report back to the court when we get an answer. Okay.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Robert?
A couple things. I know at the last meeting we approved the fiscal court fund applications if we've got any money left. But the webpage hasn't been updated to reflect 2022, and there's been no publicity. So if we could update that and do some publicity in the Winchester Sun about the community fund grants, we can do that and get the application updated.
And Matt, that may be new information for you. If you want to contact our office, so tomorrow or something, we'll give you a kind of a rundown on what that is, and if you want to do a little article on it or something,
Yeah.
we'd appreciate it.
I've had several people call me and wanted to know
Okay.
the status. Another thing, Thank you. From time to time, I walk in the neighborhood, and as you know, partly goes down Boone Avenue. So, in my last walk, I ran across a resident who was concerned about the trucks, as I know county attorney is, that they go down Boone Avenue. And he and I had this discussion the other day, this individual had suggested a Jake brake ordinance, and I said, well, I'll look into it. I've since found out that the city looked at it and decided not to pass one because they couldn't enforce it. But I spent 3 or 4 minutes on the internet and found 4 or 5 cities and other communities that have a Jake brake ordinance, and spoke to Travis about Jake brakes, because I know he had some experience in that, not only writing citations but applying them probably in some other life. But at some point, we need to do something about Boone Avenue traffic, and if we can maybe between the city and the county work with some way, even if we pass an ordinance and say the fine's $500 if you apply your Jake brake, and if we only catch 1 out of 50, maybe another 15 or 20 won't apply their Jake brakes, and may at least cut down on some of the noise if we can't cut down on the truck traffic. So I told that individual I would bring it up, and if I have the opportunity next week, I'll step across the street, city commission, and bring it up as well. But trying to listen to my constituents, and I told them I would bring that up, and I did. I've got another item, but I'm not going to bring it up because it really does need me to be discussed about the new direction. So we'll leave that for another day.
Okay. Thank you, Robert. Daniel?
Just a quick update in regards to the broadband project as far as the regional approach. We've met for the last 2 days, or we've had 3 days of meetings. In regards listening to the final 3, we had very good conversation today. So hopefully our goal is within the 2 weeks to have a final meeting to see how each county is going to feel about the process. I think we've got some good opportunities. It's going to be beneficial to our residents and cost efficient. So,
Daniel, do they have a targeted, for example, a number of houses that this project would address in Clark County?
the target amount. Here's the issue with putting a number on it. A lot of these companies use FCC maps, and those maps are absolutely obsolete. They're horrible. They don't have the right information. All the contracts that have, well, it's not a contract yet, but all the proposals to us is that they will guarantee that every house in Clark County will be served that is underserved or does not have service currently now. Each company has a different range on what they consider underserved. If they're only able to, one company was anything under 100 MBS, that would be considered underserved. They don't have the ability to get anything higher. Another one was anything under 500, which is you're getting very good speeds if you're under or at that speed there. So each one of those are different from that aspect of it. But they guaranteed that every resident, and they would put people on the ground that would walk streets. They actually go to the polls, see what's run. So they do an expansive research prior to the final approval of the contract, so they have exactly the information that they're going to be doing.
That's very thorough.
It
I
is.
wouldn't expect. Okay, that's great.
But so that, so hopefully we'll have a direction to bring to the court. Me and Magistrate Davis, where we're on the committee ad hoc committee
Yes.
that you appointed. We've had meetings with AT&T. We've had meetings discussing what's been going on in the broadband, and I've forwarded him some information, and then, hopefully we'll have a recommendation on which direction to go here in the next couple of meetings. So,
All right. Anything else, Daniel?
that's it.
Travis?
Just one thing, Judge. I'll echo Magistrate Davis's comments about the coroner's cot. I have fought that cot. many times over the last 4 or 5 years, and I was with Neil when it broke the other night, and I gave him 3 young strapping police officers to assist him. But I would go so far as to say that I would like to see the court commit enough money and get us some quotes, but get something that is assisted, so that, because oftentimes they're by themselves. And I would just echo those comments, and hopefully we can do something soon on that.
And Neil, if you want to go ahead and move ahead with getting some quotes on
Sure.
them, that's fine. And we'll see if we can handle that with the transfer. Okay. Thank you.
That's all I got.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Joe?
Nothing.
Okay, that's all we have. Motion
Motion adjourned.
by Magistrate Constantopoulos.
Second.
Second by Magistrate Elkins. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.